Hi, I'm Gillian Utesch. I am the host of a Superwoman Handbook and the author of A White Collar Wife. A White Collar Wife is my personal story through love, loss, and joy. You can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you catch your podcast. I'll take two in recording this specific chapter for A White Collar Wife. I guess every author has this. I don't know because I'm not a trained author and I don't have like authory friends to like hang around with and compare notes. But some of these stories have been not easy from a content perspective, but easy from a just linear understanding of events, communicating the overall storyline and situation. This chapter is a little harder for me because it has taken longer from a timeline perspective for everything to digest and process. Think of like a good chili, okay? Like you can come home from work, and if whoever you asked to take that chili out of the freezer actually did it, and that hamburger meat out of the freezer and it's thawed, and you can make your chili from jump and eat it that night, it's good. But girl, isn't it better if it has been in the crock pot all day and then you come home? This story has been in the crock pot for quite some time. Before I was married to a guy named Josh, and bless his heart, he could not carry a tune in a bucket if four people were carrying the handle. Okay. But he didn't know this. Well, actually, I think he grew to know it and just not care. And he would belt out karaoke tunes with just this confidence and this I don't give a fuck, and it was the sexiest thing for me. I met him when I had just turned 20. I know, I'm only 29, but I just turned 20, and I think about 20-year-old me. Like many of y'all, you're probably thinking about your 20-year-old selves. You knew everything. You were going to change the world. You were going to be Mother Teresa in double wears Prada high heels. I know because that's exactly what I thought. And we were arranged through a mutual friend. It sounds so weird, but it wasn't weird. I had actually dated her son. And it didn't work out. And we're all friends. We parted as friends and took our balls and went home. But she and I remained friends. I try to be friends with everyone in my story, except those who chest bumped me. But that's a MIL story for another chapter. But she and I really had a genuine friendship. And so she introduced me to Josh because they worked together at the rescue department. And he had like 95 jobs at that time. He taught at the local community college. I'm sure he was doing HVAC as well. I mean, he was just the boy came out a hustler. And we talk about hustler mentality a lot, especially in my industry, but we see it, especially not dogging this current generation, but we don't see it as much anymore now as we used to. And he was raised by a single mom for the most part, and his grandmother, who, oh my God, love her. She has since gone on to her forever home, but she taught me a lot about poise and conducting yourself in a room, how to make everyone in that room think you own that room. That room has your name over the door, while also having a quiet confidence about it. So I loved the opportunity to have her in my story. So back to I was signed up and we were set up as a I don't want to say a blind date, but yeah, I mean, I guess it was because I didn't know him, he didn't know me. That's the definition of a blind date, I guess. Even though she knew both of us. And I'll never forget, I had a Motorola StarTAC phone, okay? And I drove a two-door coupe. I had a Honda Accord coupe at that time because, that's what one did. And so she's calling me to give me the details about this first date that she'd set up for us. We were going to meet at Johnny Rockets at the mall. Now, this mall had just been built. Like, it had the new mall scent on it. Like, they had just ripped the sticker off this mall, okay? So she wanted to let me know we were going to meet at Johnny Rockets at 5 o'clock on Friday or whatever it was. And I'm holding my Motorola StarTAC and we had pulled the antenna out with your teeth. And I'm holding it on my shoulder, trying to open up the door of my coupe, which are larger than standard issue door. And I dropped the phone, and it It was a suicide. The phone committed suicide and it burst into a million pieces. And I went, oh my God, did she hear me confirm that I'm going to the blind date? Like, does she know that I know? And is she going to tell him so he knows? Or is he going to think I stood him up for the blind date? Oh my God. To the AT&T store I go. I did not pass go. I did not, collect my $200. I like slid in at, 5:58 were closing. I was like, I need a new phone. And that was back in the day when one could just buy a phone, anytime in your contract. And I think it was like $49.99. Like, I mean, it was not the epic catastrophe that it would have been today. So I often think back about that. Anytime I drop my iPhone now, I kind of reliving that moment, hoping that when I open my eyes and look at it, it's not going to be just looks, like a transformer crunched it to death. So I get the new phone and I get everything, all set up, and then I call her back. I'm like, hey, did you hear? Did you hear me confirm I'm gonna be there? She goes, yeah, girl, why are you stressing? So I had to tell her the whole story. So anyway, Johnny Rockets was on the top floor of the mall. And again, new mall, fresh. They had just pulled the new mall plastic off of it. And I go up the escalator. There are some moments in life that are burned in your mind. Now, if you asked me what color tie was wearing in our wedding, I have no idea. But I can tell you, he's super tall. He's like, you got to be 6 feet to ride this kind of thing. And so he had, and his Adam's apple is so pronounced. And so as I'm coming up the escalator, I see that first and I was like, oh, hello there, Adam's apple. What are we going to do tonight? And then it comes down and he had on a white t-shirt, a leather jacket that I could tell the quality. I hadn't even touched it yet, though that was on my list of things to do that night. I could just see the quality. It was like a black, brown, just like, I am here to like take you like a gazelle. Like that's what it looked like, right? And he was wearing his Levi jeans that he always wore. And I'd like, oh my God. And he could wear a pair of jeans, let me tell you. The boy should have been a swimmer. And I was just like, oh my God, I get to have Johnny Rockets blind date with this hunk of a hunk candy right here. Okay. And so we get into, Johnny Rockets and we're, doing our order, and he ordered onion rings and I ordered fries. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I want to ask him if I could have an onion ring. Like, hey, can I trade an onion ring for a fry? Can I give you half my PB&J for your pimento cheese? But I didn't want to look like a crazy person because people are funny about their food. Okay. Just ask one of my friends whose name I won't say, Patrick Reed. And so you just don't dare eat off their plate because they're going to wig out. Whereas I have some friends where I can just we'd pass the burger back if we wanted to. Like there's no boundaries. So I hadn't learned yet where he was on the food sharing Jeremy boundary. And to my joy, he goes, hey, do you want to trade? Like, do you want some fries for my onion rings? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. And it was there was no question from there. We ended up hanging out the whole night. We went and played pool, billiards for those. He got drunk. He slipped me drinks because I wasn't 21. Which I thought was so cool. I was like, oh my God, I've got this hunk of a hunk. And we go out and we play pool like real adults. And he's slipping me drinks. And I'm a big girl now. Like, that's exactly like what so the whole night was just really, there was just lots of endorphins, we'll say. And so we ended up coming back because he was staying with friends down at the beach. And for those that know, the way the beach configuration works is like you rent like a square foot part of a house the size of like a placemat. And so he had rented the exact square footage of like the top of the refrigerator. And someone else had rented like the little part outside the bathroom door. So they had to move anytime somebody wanted to go to the bathroom. So going back to his place, and it was far because he was at the beach. But I had a place that was close to downtown because I was a working girl. And so we ended up going back to my place, and he didn't try to have sex with me. I mean, not that I'm not saying if I would have said yes or no, okay? I'm just saying that he didn't even try. And I thought to myself, wow, like, this is cool. Like, I mean, again, I'm not saying if I would have said yes or no, but he didn't even try. And I thought to myself, he is such a gentleman. He has been raised so well. His MIL did not chest bump me, for those playing on the bingo card. So I knew that after I met his Nana and his whole family, it really showed me that there's a saying here in the South that says someone is no better than they're raising, which is kind of like saying bless your heart. Like, okay, you're eating with your elbows on the table, but no one told you any better. So we don't think you're an animal, okay? Like, we're not going to judge you in this social circle. So I could tell that he had been, raised really well. And that morning when I woke up, now this is back in the day when we had actual desktop computers, okay, Star Trek phone, and the components had to screw in the back of the computer, and thank God they were color coded. Because they weren't all the same like they are now with USB and all that kind of stuff. So I woke up the next morning, because I wasn't a seasoned alcoholic at that point, okay, y'all. I wasn't used to having 7 cocktails and then hitting the ground at 6:30 going to work like I just had milk and went to bed at 8 p.m. the night before, okay? So I'm kind of like getting my bearings, walking around, and he is putting my computer together. Because I had gotten it, but I wasn't really sure how to do it. And I was like, oh, I'll ask someone, but that's too much work. And then I thought, oh my God, could this guy be any sweeter? He is he didn't try to have sex with me. He took me out to dinner. We went and did an activity, and now he's doing an act of service. Act of service is my love language. And I think that's a really cool thing, because for those that are with me, I'm not expecting you to buy me gifts, which I thought was a good thing. But warning on that, any money not spent on gifts can be stockpiled to divorce you with later for a ton of cash. So you might want to become a gifts person, is maybe, because we try to give actionable words of advice in the Superwoman Handbook. So I would advise, even if you are not a gifts person, become like a 25% gifts person and get at things that you can easily resell or pawn, not pocketbooks. Like, get jewelry, get fine gold, get a VCR, something, that you can work with. All right. So I was not a gifts person or words of affirmation, because I got me for that. But I am acts of service. And he, without even us talking about it or going through 7 fights and couples counseling, just knew that and did it. It was just his nature. And so fast forward, we end up buying a condo, and then that was fun. Kind of, well, we didn't get married till almost 5 years later. Yeah. So we met at the Johnny Rockets, and it was the traditional slow burn, not the just whatcha that it was like when I married. And so we had this kind of slow burn. We were together for 5 years. We got a condo. So we went through all that. We went through the death of grandparents. We went through a lot of life drama together. And I think that was really good in solidifying our marriage and our respect for each other. That's been my biggest takeaway. I think when you don't have that slow burn, like and I kind of jumped right into it. Well, we didn't jump, I pushed him. And so there wasn't that just natural timeline to develop, just years of trust and respect that Josh and I had when we ultimately got married. And so, of course, we waited for an economic collapse, in order, as one does, to get married. But it was beautiful. And I'll never forget, his mom came to me, and this is in the handbook because this is something I think that everyone should do, and I never thought about doing it. She came to me a couple days before the wedding, and she gave me a gift just myself. And everyone who knows, especially if it's your first marriage, you're getting crock pots and pans and gifts galore, okay? But this gift, she made a point to make it personal for me, because she said so much of this is for y'all. It was crock pots, it was bowls, it was, now yes, I had picked it all out. And he had agreed or consented, or maybe didn't, just didn't want to fight me on it, but it was all, it was all kind of a communal thing. And she said, I want you to have something that's just for you. And it was a beautiful bracelet. And I thought to myself, wow, I like this. Like, I really felt welcome into her family. I felt like she was really taken. We're all busy. We've all got 85 things going on. Life and work are all 4-letter words. And so she took a pause from those and all the weddingness. Now she was doing the flowers for our wedding too. Okay. So let me add that in to the story. So she had a lot on her plate, and it really it really resonated with me that she would take that time to recognize me as an individual. And I'm not just me as a bride or me as a future wife or me as the other half of this. So we have our wedding, which was beautiful and all that, you could imagine. And then we get to the part where we move out of the condo because we were growing in our life and it was time, for the next phase in life. So at that point, I was still kind of in the city and he was down closer to where he was working at the time. So he had been doing an hour where he used to rent the space on top of the refrigerator. He upgraded and had his own, place. And he was doing the drive. And then when we got together and he moved into my condo with me, he was doing the drive. And so I felt like this was back when I had like compassion and empathy because life hadn't put me through the cosmic blender and pureed me 75 times. And now I'm kind of like, every man for the damn selves, okay? But at that time, I was like, it's not fair. Let's get a house closer to where you're working. And then I'll do the drive every day. And then also we were able to get more for our money. We got just a quintessential, if you think about, now, if you're not in the South, this may not make sense, but if you think about a quintessential home, it's, on an acre lot, it sits back from the road. It has the dormers, the big porch where you can hang the ferns in between. Yeah, it was that. It was that house. It looked absolutely picture perfect. And we had so much fun. We at that time, we didn't have kids. We weren't drowning in debt. So we would spend time planning weekend trips. Now, I don't mean to like Cozumel. I mean to Charlottesville or Charleston and places that we could drive to, but that we also felt were interesting. We wanted to explore, walk around, find new restaurants because we didn't really have a lot of access to that besides the Johnny Rockets. And it was just palling around is the best way I can describe it. We just hung out. And we'd play music loud. He'd sing horribly. I would, depending on where I was in my menstrual cycle, I would tell him how funny his horrible singing was. Or I'd be like, shut up, I can't take it anymore. And so that was kind of our car ride there. And we'd hang out and we both love wine. He was a red wine drinker. I was a white wine drinker, so we kind of found our happy place. And towards the end, we'd gotten now for those that drink wine, it's a very dialed in palate, so we'll say. And one Chardonnay is not one Chardonnay, and one Merlot is not one Merlot. But over the years, we had learned even though we didn't like each other's wine, we'd learned what the other one liked, so I could order for him easily. I'm like, let me taste it, and if I was like, I knew he'd love it. Okay, and so the same way. So we'd go on our weekend trips and we'd meet new friends, learn different cultures. Like we went to Charlottesville to watch. They do a steeplechase horse race in November, and it wasn't anything that either of us had been to with our families, or that it wasn't like a long-standing 200-year tradition like it was for a lot of these folks. They had their tailgate spots that everybody knew. Go to spot 74 for the Smiths at the steeplechase. Like, that's what you do. Like, we didn't have that. And so he had kind of sought this out as thinking it could be an activity we did on that date weekend. And we get there early with our fold-up chairs because we didn't know, like, what to expect. Are there going to be mobs of people? Is it, going to be like, just what are you going to experience? And we were the only ones there. Literally the only ones there. And so we're like, this is the universe just telling us that we're supposed to be here and get a good seat. And so we put our chairs down, and then finally, a couple hours later, people and vendors start trickling in, and we'd ended up putting our chairs in a horrible location we couldn't see. And a steeplechase is hard to see anyway because it's a steeplechase. The concept is they run from one end of the town. In a lot of southern towns, the Methodist church is on one end and a Baptist church is on the other. And so and there's whatever terrain in between. And so the horses would have to navigate, jump, dodge, do all that, hokey pokey around the different things to get from one steeple to the other. So they tried to kind of replicate it in this natural but man-made location. So our Our location was horrible, but we had a fun time. We go back to our rental, our little Airbnb house, and we're drinking wine and just, having a beautiful night. The next year, we go to the steeplechase, but at this time, we were pros, okay? We knew where to rent our spot, how to do. We had already networked to our friends that we were going to be there to meet us, and so that year we had our tailgate and our full experience, but it was fun. And palling around as I've had time in the chili crock pot to kind of think through my life, my story with him, it was chill. There was no drama. We never fought. I can't think, except me screaming at him to not sing in the car because it was so terrible. I can't think of anything we fought about. We just got along and kind of like little 3-year-olds in a sandbox together. If I took his toy away from him and he wasn't cool with it, he'd take it back and I'd be like, okay, I give mercy, no problem. I didn't like take another toy and hit him over the head with it. Like, we just had this really easygoing way about our relationship. And we were together for so long. I'm still 29. We were together for so long, I grew to believe that every relationship, every marriage, every, long-term relationship, had that same ease, had that same level of comfort, that same long tenured, from our 5-year ramp up of just learning each other, of love and respect and kindness. I 100% took it for granted. I 100% was a piece of shit to him. There's no other way to put it, because I was growing and I was getting excited about the world. And that song, "Is there life out there?" Now I'm talking about his singing, and now I'm singing. I'm gonna be like, girl, you can't sing either. But I really was curious if there was life out there. Could I do more than live in my absolutely beautiful house, on my 1-acre lot in the middle of the country, in the middle of the, like not country, but country, like country. And, my husband went to work every day. Yeah, we drank a little, but he did, we didn't have any real problems. He came home at 6:02 every night. We had dinner together. Along our marriage, we got a dog who'd play in the yard that we'd take with us. It was absolutely perfect. He never yelled at me. He never called me names. He never retaliated. Now, I would withhold sex sometimes, okay? Guilty as charged. And if you say that you've never withheld sex to get something from your husband, lying girl, okay? So, but for the most part, it was really easy. And I hate that I treated him the way that I did. I hate that I ended our marriage the way that I did. I hate that I allowed my curiosity, for lack of a better word, and my naivety to not appreciate what I had with him. I wanted someone that drove a Porsche and we could fly off to Paris and he drove a Prius and got home at 6:02 and spent absolutely $0 of the money he earned and turned it all into our family bills. Like, I mean, I could just go back in time and I would backhand me. I wouldn't slap me. I would backhand me so my ring would like scratch my face and then grab my shoulders and say, girl, get it together. But that's not what happened. So he is now married, has a little baby, another dog. He's living the beautiful life that he should be living. And the years from when we divorced until now, still, because I've yet to recreate that scene, that environment, that chapter of life, my life has been absolutely tumultuous. It's been, in many ways, I sit here and I think I got exactly what I asked for. I wanted to have this dramatic life, this flashy, this, that, that, that. I got it all right in spades. And I wish I could have found a way to have balanced it better, to have maintained my very established, respected relationship with Josh, and then added in this other layer. But I just didn't know. I didn't know how to go to my husband and be like, so here's what I'd like to add to our relationship. And it's not kinky sex. It's a very fun life. It's going out and doing more things than just a horse race and wine tasting. Like, I didn't know how to articulate that. And so I wish that we'd had something, and that was one of the main drivers of a Superwoman Handbook was to, when you know better, you do better. And so we can come back and share this knowledge and say, girl, I feel you. I know what you're saying, but here's some tools to help you get what you want now where you are versus having to go through this whole calamity, which is what I went through to get what you think you want only to not get it in the end.